lot of men, a lot of men, that's men, that's like a lot of men struggle with taking accountability for their role in failed relationships. So I'm gonna go ahead and fix that typo and play this clip.
Why I've acted like this in these relationships that I've had is because the trauma that I haven't learned how to process or deal with. So this girlfriend didn't last, this one didn't last, and it was my fault. So realizing that those things were your fault, because the stories we say are what we make true, right? But when you got to face yourself again in that mirror, or you creating that content on that phone, you got to realize the stories that you've been telling were wrong. Sometimes you go through when you're going through therapy, like, no, that wasn't a real story. It was your fault, bro. And it's me talking to me, bro. That was your fault. You caused that. You weren't honest. And yes, it may have been your trauma. That may have happened. Still no excuse. It's still your fault. And those are conversations I have with myself. And those are often tough. Because then you got to backtrack. Sometimes you got to apologize to people you hurt.
That's a fact.
You know what I mean?
That's a fact.
And then the apology ain't it, bro. It's changed behavior is the real apology. Because if you repeat it again, the apology was meaningless.
All right, let's go ahead and dive into it. A lot of men struggle with taking accountability for their role in failed relationships. Go ahead and go to Cherish first. What are your thoughts about it, man?
I feel like this is true, but it takes men more time. In my experience, at first, men are very stubborn, and also their egos are very, like, sensitive. But over time, they do take better accountability, in my opinion. But at first, like up front, up and running, no. It can be pretty childish and immature at first. But I do have hope, and I, in my experience, have gotten respect and gotten apology and articulation and emotional maturity. Maybe not when I wanted it, but it always came around.
Okay. All right. Chelsea, what are your thoughts about it?
I thought it would be really pretty much it's vice versa. I would say that everyone carries some sort of baggage with them into their relationships, new relationships with people, just because it's just stemmed from trauma, something that you probably haven't processed yet, and you don't realize that you're doing, or it's a wall that you put up that you feel, oh, this person did this to me, so I'm gonna have this that I put into my next relationship, that this never happens to me again. So it's all like pretty much trauma based, that some things that they put into the next relationship are negative, and they don't realize that the other person is taking on this toll, or taking on this new agenda, or having to assimilate to this new, curriculum that they are instilling in the relationship with each other. So I'm not going to say it's just mainly based on men. I just feel like men have a harder time like realizing what they're doing, or realizing what they're putting their trauma that they have with it. They like to say that, oh, she did this to me, but fuck, F her, and I'll just move on to the next relationship, and I'll just she did that to me, but I'm just gonna move on and just forget all about her. But you still have some trauma, you still have some things that you need to work through, and they don't really realize that until they come into the next relationship, and this girl is probably better, or 10 times better than her, but he's still treating her like the past one. So I would say that.
All right, go ahead, brother Marcus.
Yeah, so Q to typing in the chat that I'm a simp, because y'all know my philosophy is men are ultimately responsible for everything in a relationship, due to the fact that if you're the leader, everything falls upon you. So it's your responsibility to set up how you want that relationship to go. And That's the parameters, the way you discuss things, what you allow, what you ignore, what you bypass, what you keep having sex with her and let her get away with. All of those things ultimately fall on you because you were the one that was supposed to set the parameters for the relationship. And if your relationship fails, it's probably because you didn't do one of those things correctly. And if you can't come to terms with that, you will repeat that mistake until you come to terms with that and fix it. You will pre-solve if you take responsibility and fix it. So I'm sure the chat calling me all the simps in the world, but it's the truth. You can't fight the truth, bro. You can't fight the truth. If she extremely disrespectful when you're talking to her, you didn't set up the parameters for what was okay and acceptable. If she don't want to have sex with you and you stay in a relationship with her, you allowed that type of behavior or her not being attracted to you to continue. If you continue to give somebody a relationship while she's showing you all the signs that you don't want, you are rewarding negative behavior and training that person to do that. So although you don't want that, that is exactly what you train them to do because you rewarded them with the things that you did not want to see.
Marcus got a mic drop. All right, go ahead, Kasey. You're on mute, just so you know, Kasey. You're on mute. Kasey, you're on mute.
Can you come back to me?
Yes, man, I'll come back to you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Trev.
All right, so yeah, I'll make this a little bit personal real quick. So I definitely understand why men have to be considered accountable for the relationships, right? So with that, right, in my first couple relationships, I did not understand what I was doing. When you're talking about like teenage years, right? So I didn't know how to establish boundaries, right? I didn't know. There were so many things that I was just lacking, so many different categories. I did not know how to navigate the woman's situation. So I was completely obliterated. I was abused because women will take advantage of that. If they see you weak, then they're going to run all over you. That's just what it is. So I sat down and I'm like, man, you know what? This is my fault that I was treated this way because I noticed that it wasn't happening to other men. I've seen these same women deal with other men and the outcome was different. So I went, I analyzed, I said, all right, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? What do I need to do better? Right? I mean, I overcompensated because I realized what it was that women were responding to in general, right? And a lot of men actually go through this. This is when most men swallow the red pill, when they were done dirty by a few females and then they just become a complete animal. So for some time, I became a complete animal where I would disregard any woman's feelings pretty much on a sociopathic level, right? So we become that, but then you have to look at it again. What's the outcome of here? What are you doing now? You are now ruining women by doing what is great for you, but it's really not for them. So you become a womanizer and everything else after you swallow the red pill. This is one of the things that people do. Some people rage out. Some people just try to. This is how victims are. If you feel like you're a victim of something, then you end up victimizing others. Right. So once you start to realize what the outcome of that is, I came my favorite word, balance. And I'm like, OK, so there's a happy medium of what you can do here. Right. You have to establish boundaries, but you don't have to just become a maniac and do whatever it is that you want to do. So once you are able to actually look and realize what it is that you are doing to that other person, you have to be able to just step outside of it. Stop being so selfish. Look at what it is that you do. What's the outcome of it? And like Marcus said, we're the leaders. We are going to dictate the pace of the relationship. If we establish boundaries, then women will not raise up on us. If we don't, then guess what? They're going to run all over you and lose attraction to you at the same time. And you'll end up eventually losing a woman. That's just how it goes.